Breaking news, the Chicago Bulls have a new head coach, and his name is Billy Donovan. What is going on, y'all? FaizSportsTalk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA here to talk about this breaking news, folks, because it is breaking. It literally just happened, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts and record this video for you guys amidst the entire excitement of the fact that the Bulls have hired a new head coach. So I'm going to talk about all this, all right? I'm going to talk about Billy Donovan's hiring, whether I like it, if I don't, talk about, I think, the reason why he was hired, and pretty much everything. I'm going to deep dive into this analysis on the Bulls finally finding their new head coach in Billy Donovan. Before I do that, if you're new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and subscribe if you have not done so already, folks. Listen, best NBA content around. I will continue to keep it going amidst the playoffs and the offseason now. So make sure you are locked in here, especially with the Bulls content. You are locked in on the channel. You're turning on the post notifications. And also you are following me on my social media accounts. Links, as always, down below and on the screen for that. So I don't want to make you wait any longer. Let's get into it. So let me start off by talking about my reaction, okay? Because the news just broke. And got a tweet. I think it was Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, who tweeted it, that the Bulls have in fact hired Billy Donovan as their new head coach. And I'm just shocked because this came out of left field, folks. This came out of nowhere because the guys that were rumored to be finalists, quote unquote, for the Bulls gig, their head coaching gig, did not include Billy Donovan. He was not included on that list. It was four guys. It was Kenny Atkinson, it was Ime Udoka, it was Darvin Ham, and it was Wes Unseld Jr. Okay? Three of those guys are obviously have never been head coaches, and Kenny Atkinson, the former head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Nowhere on that list was Billy Donovan. And so the fact that, he got hired tells me something happened that was unexpected or crazy and wasn't part of the plan. All right, so I'm going to try to talk about what that might have been, okay? But in terms of Billy Donovan, let's talk about this man. Let's talk about his resume, okay? So obviously, Billy Donovan was most recently the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he is no longer the head coach there. But be very careful here because Billy Donovan was not, N-O-T, not fired from the Thunder. No, in fact, he left the Thunder job because of, I believe, unforeseen circumstances, which I'll elaborate in just a second here. But the Thunder did not fire him. In fact, the contract just ended. He signed a 5-year deal in 2015, and it ended in 2020. And both sides, I guess, decided to mutually walk away from one another. I'm not sure if a contract extension was discussed, but even if it was, I believe Billy Donovan had made up his mind that he was not returning as the Thunder's head coach. Now, you might ask, what could be that reason? And I believe the reason is because the OKC Thunder want to rebuild. They want to rebuild, and they are planning on moving on from Chris Paul. They're planning on just doing a complete overhaul because they know this team has a ceiling, and they'd rather not bring it back. And so Billy Donovan, I'm sure, wants to go to a team that is not rebuilding. But in that same light, you might be thinking, Faiz, what are you saying? The Bulls are rebuilding. Well, I'm going to get to that in just a second. Hang tight. We got a lot to talk about. Hang tight, okay? So he departs from OKC, and he actually was a very hot commodity. I believe Billy Donovan was going to get hired for sure. We have some openings. I know Indiana has still got an opening. So Philadelphia, I believe. There are coaching gigs out there to be had. And so the biggest thing I want to point out is Billy Donovan was not fired from OKC. Okay, he was not fired. Now, back to his resume before I dive into why he was hired by the Bulls. Billy Donovan, we all know, he is most notably known for his time as a college basketball head coach of the Florida Gators. He was there for about 19 seasons, led them to 2 championships in 06 and 07. He was phenomenal. He rebuilt that program from ground up. Literally, he has all the records as the head coach of the Florida Gators. It's not even close. And so Billy Donovan, quite frankly, a legend as a college basketball head coach. But in terms of his career as an NBA head coach, because, again, college does not always translate to the NBA. So So I don't want to harp too much on that. But he's very proven on the college level. But we're talking about the NBA. In terms of the NBA, Billy Donovan, in his 5 years with the OKC Thunder, what has he done? Well, let me tell you. 5 years with the OKC Thunder. He's made the playoffs all 5 years. And the teams have gotten better very slightly, but they have, because obviously in terms of the first year they had KD in 2015. They got to the conference finals, they lost, but remember, after 2015, KD dipped for Golden State, so they no longer had KD here. So really, you're going to expect a drop-off after you lose a player like Kevin Durant. I mean, come on now. He's a top 2 player in this league, top 3, if you will. 47 wins. So not a huge drop-off, but a drop-off nonetheless, which I'm not going to blame Billy Donovan at all for losing Kevin friggin' Durant. Okay? 47 wins, then 48 wins, then 49 wins, and then 44 wins this year. Obviously, the season got cut short, or they could have probably broken that mark and kept improving, because this year OKC was the surprise team. Nobody saw that coming from OKC, what they did this year. They were given, what, a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs? Everybody, including myself, wrote them off. So credit to Billy Donovan for getting that OKC team to the playoffs. So this year, completely impressed. But in terms of his resume, I mean, he's made the playoffs every year, been solid. Obviously, he hasn't won any championships or anything like that. But here's the thing with the hiring of Billy Donovan. Now let's talk about why the Bulls hired him, I believe. Okay? The Bulls roster is a young roster. We know that. But are they completely rebuilding? I'm not so sure about that, and here's why. Complete rebuild means you are trading away everything you have and literally accumulating draft picks and assets and going from there. The difference here with the Bulls is, I believe the Bulls and this new management with AK Arturos Karnisovas and Mark Eversley, the GM, want to see what is on this roster that they like, and then we'll get rid of what they don't like. So even though on surface it looks like a rebuild, it is not a full, complete 5-7 year rebuild. I've told you guys this before. I think this is a 3-year rebuild / retool, if you will. Okay, 3 years. And Billy Donovan has shown you, he was a coach for 5 years. And so I believe this is a long-term hire for sure. But this is not a full-on rebuild, which is why I think this job appealed to Billy Donovan, because he's not going to leave one rebuild, a one potential rebuild for another. But he saw the players on the Bulls. And he obviously liked what he saw, because I believe Billy Donovan would not have taken this job if he did not see the potential. If he did not see the potential in Zach LaVine, if he did not see the potential in Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, maybe Wendell Carter Jr., the list goes on and on. Point being is, he saw something he liked on this roster, and that's why I believe the Bulls are not going to go through a full-on rebuild. They're going to go through somewhat of a retooling, if you will, because this first year is going to be figuring out who do we keep on this roster and build around. And that's another key part of why I believe he was hired, development of players. Billy Donovan does know how to develop guys. I will give you that, okay? Obviously, we know his reputation as a college basketball head coach. I mean, tons of great players have played for him. By the way, Bradley Beal tweeted that he was really happy. I think he retweeted Woj's tweet saying yes to Billy Donovan being hired by the Bulls because he has that much respect for Billy Donovan. We know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, he was phenomenal for the Thunders here. You got to give some credit to Billy Donovan there. And then Luguentz Dort, another rookie for them. So these young players and this OKC team, which was very young, minus Chris Paul and probably Steven Adams and Danilo Gallinari, Billy Donovan was able to develop some of those young guys there. So I have to give him some credit there. And the other part is, so it's development of young players. 2 is reputation. Billy Donovan is a very respected head coach. He is very respected around the league by players because they know what he's done. All right. When you have a coach who's not got a resume, you're going to end up in a situation where guys might not respect him. And lo and behold, we just saw that with our former head coach. I don't want to bring him up, but I just want to talk about the fact that it was Jim Boylen, right? Jim Boylen, his biggest issue was nobody respected Jim Boylen because he had nothing to his name in terms of reputation. we know Billy Donovan's going to get respected by his players because Billy Donovan has a resume. He's done things in his career. And so that is another piece of why he was hired, I believe, over these other coaches who have not been head coaches, right? So these assistants, Ime Udoka, Darwin Ham, and Wes Unseld Jr., I believe the reason why AK and management, the new front office, did not go with a new guy is because they understood, hey, the old management just went with a new guy, and he had trouble getting respect. So let's go with somebody who young players are going to respect, who young players are going to listen to, and who is going to command this team. And that is exactly what Billy Donovan can do for you. So again, respect is there. That's why I liked Kenny Atkinson, right? Because he would have been able to talk about the fact that, he did some things with the Brooklyn Nets, but same thing here with Billy Donovan. So respect is there. And third and final point for why I believe he was hired is appeal to other players. So similar to the reputation here, when we're talking about, going out to those big time free agents, you got to have a coach that people will respect and people will be appealed by. And I believe Billy Donovan, from his recruiting days at Florida, he is going to be able to hopefully help recruit guys because that's what he did for 19 years at Florida. He recruited players. So that's another piece, right? Where we don't just want to, as a Bulls team, just develop the players we drafted. We want to sign big-time free agents. Now, again, not everybody gets lucky. Sometimes it is about luck, but you want to go out there and try and appeal to teams and build the right culture. That's what Billy Donovan can do. So, again, to me, it's a compilation of all these things: respect, resume, culture, appeal. A lot of these things is why Billy Donovan, I believe, was hired. I believe when all was said and done, AK and Mark Eversley looked at each other and said, we can't bring in another coach that's never been a head coach. We can't bring in an unproven guy, a new guy, for our young guys because they need somebody to respect and look up to. Okay, so in terms of how I feel about this, I think this is a very, very solid hire by the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan's a very solid, respected head coach. I believe this is a guy who's going to stay with the Bulls for 5 to 10 years. This is a very solid hiring for the Chicago Bulls. So in terms of obviously what he's done on the NBA level, I would have obviously liked to see a little bit more. But look, folks, I like Kenny Atkinson, and Kenny Atkinson didn't win any championships. So to me, I think this is a very solid hiring by the Bulls. I like it. I do. I really do like this. And you know what? More importantly, I believe the Bulls players are going to like this. I believe Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., I believe those guys are going to like it. And that is the most important thing here, is that those players like Billy Donovan, because that is what's going to help make this team win games, okay? So, again, overall thoughts, folks, why Billy Donovan was brought on is you need somebody with a resume. You need somebody that players are going to respect and appeal to. And you need somebody like this, when you are embarking on a retooling like we're doing with the Chicago Bulls. So, overall, folks, I'm loving this hire. AK does it again. Mark Eversley does it again. This new front office is incredible. And now, folks, we've got our trifecta, right? Got to build my triangle here, if you will, we got AK at the top, Mark Eversley, and now we've got Billy Donovan. These three guys, are going to lead the Bulls back to the promised land. I promise you that the Bulls are going to be title contenders very, very soon. And this was just one more step in that direction to get the Bulls back to their glory days of winning NBA championships. So there you have it, folks. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. How do you like the Billy Donovan hiring? Leave a comment down below. As always, thanks for watching.